So I would steal from stores. Now my main two stores was the dollar store downtown Barrie. I won't go to it because I don't know if I'm still banned from there. I don't know if they gave me a ban for life, so I've never stepped foot in there ever since. But I stole boxes. I don't know how I did it, but I stole a whole box of Kit Kats. I ended up getting that nickname, Kit Kat. So, yeah, and then there's another Kit Kat somewhere in this town, but I was the one known for stealing Kit Kats. But no, I ended up going to Foodland after, just where the BMO bank here is in Barrie, by the courthouse and stuff, and I ended up stealing from there. Me and my friends, we would go in like a big pack, like, I don't know, like a bunch of us, and we'd steal energy drinks, steaks, cookie. A lot of them stole cookie dough. I don't know why, but it's good anyway. But whatever. But no, we ended up stealing steaks, bacon, stuff like that, and like I'm not proud of it, but I was stealing for a good cause. I was trying to feed myself, if anything, or try to make a little bit of money. Like I'd sell steaks on the street. Like I knew a couple people that didn't want to pay the prices. Like they were expensive steaks. I'd get the good fucking triple A, you know. So I got good steak. I wasn't getting that no cheap shit. So, but no, anyway, like I made my own hustle. I made a bad name for myself, bad reputation, because the stores weren't doing it. So I would just be friends with people just to steal from them. You'd let me in your house. You'd be like, oh, I feel sorry for you, you know, like come to my house and stuff like that. And I would go to somebody's house. I didn't care who they were. They could be some random dude, some random chick, a couple. I'm surprised I ain't dead from doing that. Like, going to random people's houses, like, they could have just, like, trapped me and then, like, you know.
You just sleep there, or you just...
I would actually sleep there, and I would rob them at the night. I would rob them while they're sleeping. Yeah.
Stolen from them or rob them?
Yeah, I would just be friends with you, just to rob you. Yeah, honestly, and that's exposing myself. And then it went to just randoms, but then it started going to my own friends. Started robbing my own friends, that people I knew for so long, you know, like, or at least a year, you know, and then that's how I got the reputation of being a thief. And a lot of people beat me up. I was actually beat up a lot. I was actually had my face dragged through dog shit.
But you only, you do this robbing by yourself?
Yeah, I do it all by myself.
How do you rob a guy by yourself?
If anything, well, most guys, honestly, they try to hit on you, or they'll try to be your friend too, honestly, and then they'll try to get in your pants. Now, I don't know how, but I had a high tolerance in alcohol. I don't know if it's because of my fetal alcohol syndrome, or if it's just because something in my genes, like, I have Scottish and Irish in my blood. So, my ancestors and stuff, and I probably have a bunch of other ones, but I just don't know. I know it's Scottish and Irish mainly. And they're pretty good drinkers. I'd get drunk, and I'd get pretty buzzed, but I knew how to also pace myself. Like, I would, when people weren't looking, I would dump a little bit, so I wouldn't be so drunk, you know? Or I'd find an old can or something. Like, if we were drinking beer, and I'd find an old can, and I'd dump it in that one, and make it seem like somebody else didn't drink their beer or left it. You know, or that he didn't drink his beer, and he'd be like, oh, I have another beer open? Crap, okay. So he'd get extra hammered, because he'd start double fisting his beers. Me, I'm just sipping on this beer, but really, I'm like maybe only 1, maybe 2 beers in, maybe 3, just to give it that, like, when I stand up more, you know, and to make it look like, because you can tell if somebody's drunk or not, like, their eyes kind of go like that, and they're like, whoa, man, and there's speech impediment. So, like, their speech kind of goes somewhat messed up, and mine did when I got pretty drunk. But no, yeah, he would get drunk, and if it was a male, they'd get drunk, and I'd wait till they're passed out. And if I would also, nobody would realize. If it was just a dude or a bunch of people, they wouldn't realize, but I'd test the floors. So if certain doors squeaked, stuff like that. So I'd, like, the bathroom door, the front door, I would be like, oh, I'm just going outside to grab some air. And I'd fucking kind of, like, see if the door makes any noise. Or if the lock makes any noise, you know? Like, certain noises that would be like, oh, hey, you know? Because if it alerts them while they're awake, it's going to alert them when they're sleeping. unless they're heavy sleeper. But like, there's a few people that were. Like I would literally be able to take shit out of their pocket without them realizing. You know, we ended up getting drunk and stuff like that. I made it seem like nothing was bothering me and stuff like that. And then he tried to get in my pants later on when everybody was gone. And I just kind of like squeezed a bottle of alcohol in his mouth after he took a sip, because it was those the Smirnoff Ice that you could just squeeze. And I made him take I don't know, like half the bottle. And then he was like hammered, like just hammered. And he ended up passing out before he could get anything from me. So, and then I robbed him. He had $500. And I robbed him for $400, left him, it was for a spot. This was before weed was legal, so he's selling weed. And I left him $100 to pay his weed dealer. And I dipped out of Hamilton. And
why you still leave $100?
Just so he had some money to give his dealer. So his dealer wasn't too pissed off. Plus that I don't like uneven numbers. So a 5 is an uneven number. I wanted 4, so I like even numbers.
Okay. So when you quit doing this?
I quit doing it when I ended up going back to Hamilton for my 3rd time, and I ended up robbing the wrong person. I don't even know who he was, honestly, but he was nobody to be fucking with. I fucked around and found out the hard way. And I should have just left it, but no, I ended up robbing him for $1,000. Right from underneath his nose. I just kept taking fucking bit of money, go to the bathroom, fucking count it. Okay, I'm almost there. Fucking bit of money. And yeah, everybody's drinking. They did a lot of drugs. I would pretend to do drugs back then. So they would have a couple lines of Coke on the table, and I didn't do drugs. I smoked weed and drank. That was my thing. I was an alcoholic at a young age, and I was like a stoner, still am. And so yeah, I would go like this, and I'd take the straw, and I would use my pinky. It's wasting drugs now, honestly. A lot of people would probably hate me for this, for doing this, but like, I didn't do them, so I was scared. And I ended up taking my pinky, and I would wipe it up with my pinky. I would like right here, and I'd pick it up, and then I'd dust it on my clothes, or dust it off like that, and I'd went like that. So I would do exactly what they would do after a line. So, you know, and everything else. So yeah. But no, everybody got messed up, and I'd just keep taking money, and I was pretty much sober. Like, I was buzzed, but like not enough to like not be aware and to stumble around and stuff like that. I was a good actor too. So I'd act really messed up and fall into people and stuff like that and be like, oh, I'm so sorry and stuff like that. Like, I had the speech and everything going on. And yeah, I messed around, and later on he knew it was me because, I don't know how, but like, probably he just an instinct, or maybe he was watching me. I don't know. But I thought it was pretty slick, and it came around and bit me in the ass, and him and a whole bunch of other people ended up pretty much like beating my ass to the curb. Like, I'm surprised I didn't get curb stomp, where I had to be told to bite the curb, and pretty much, or get a smiley with a knife, you know, like across the face, and I'm surprised I didn't die. But I was bleeding through every hole in my body. I have super minor case of cauliflower ear. From also relationships too, but after being hit so hard so many times, it didn't, I bled through my ears. I was pretty much crying blood at that moment. And if it wasn't for some lady and her dog, I probably would have been dead, because I lost a lot of blood. Like, I was even bleeding. Like, my pants were, it looked like I was on my monthly and everything. Like, and I wasn't raped or nothing. It was just literally pounded. They treated me like a guy. Like, I had broken ribs, fractured ribs. My hands were broken from covering my face. They still got to my face because my hands were too weak and kind of flopped over, and I was just too weak to, like, do anything. I was in fetal position. I couldn't even cry because, like, I was in so much pain. Like, I was crying, but I couldn't make a noise because my throat was messed up. Like, I'm surprised I actually didn't die. Like, I coughed up blood a few times. And yeah, so that scared me straight. I can't even steal from a store. Like, I couldn't even steal, like a piece of candy, like a 10-cent candy. I can't, because I'm too scared. Like, I'm terrified for stealing. But I still...
It could give you a trauma.
Yes. So, like, now when I'm homeless and I hear the word thief, people are now saying box thief, and that's a jail term. I've never been to adult jail, but I was raised by the streets, so a lot of people did jail time that I hung out with. That's how I learned about a lot of things, is just mainly the streets. It also opened up my eyes, honestly, because I was raised a disgusting way, that homeless is a choice, and that these people are drug addicts, they're dirty, they choose this lifestyle, they choose to do drugs. Honestly, it's not true. A lot of them do choose it, like me. I put myself on the streets. I wasn't just put on the streets, I put myself there because I was tired of the abuse. It was the only way to get out of the nightmare that I was living. And now I'm living another nightmare, but honestly, it's better than being, like, feeling like I'm captive. Out here, I'm free. And I do feel safe, but there are times where I don't. And honestly, if I don't feel safe in an area, I'll dip. No questions asked. Like, say for an example, tonight things went down, I would honestly pack up me and my little rat, because I have a pet rat. He's not with me right now. His name's Master Splinter. But no, I would end up taking him and the clothes on my back, and honestly, probably just my main backpack. I would leave his tank behind, but I'd make sure that if I could take it, I would. But my roller bag makes so much noise, so if I wanted to dip out of there quietly, then I could, if I had to, if it's not safe, because it's Milligan's Pond, honestly, it's the forest. Even anybody can tell you that something about that forest, like, every single night somebody's losing something. Everybody does, it's not a quiet thing, and it's going to be pretty much a news flash to everybody, but everybody, that's where they do their drugs. That's where we all do it with them. But we do them in other places too. Like, honestly, there's been so many people that have been busted there for drugs, being too much of a disturbance in the park, stuff like that. So I move around, but I'm in Mulligan's for a reason, just because I need to post up, rest up, because I've been walking nonstop. Like, I'm always on the go.
Okay.
I was abused and neglected as a child up until I was 5 years old, by my mother's boyfriends, never my real dad. My mom was accused of cheating, and what happened was my mom couldn't take my behavior. I was a troubled child. I'd act out, wouldn't eat my food, I'd throw temper tantrums, and my mom said to the police when she called is that I don't want this child no more. So when the police came, they said, what about that one in the crib? And it was my one sister's, Storm. And she said, I'll keep that one, but get rid of this one, and shooed me away towards them. And I ended up in CAS, Children's Aid Society, at the age of 5. My family, my dad's side, they did fight for me through family court, but honestly, my mom and my grandmother had a family feud, and my mom's family and my dad's family didn't get along, so it ended up being too much for the courts. So they said, well, she'll just go to CAS. So I ended up at CAS at 5 years old. I was also mistreated and neglected there. I had a couple good homes, but they just couldn't handle me at that age, at a very young age, throwing temper tantrums and stuff like that. I ended up being a Crown Award, so I was pretty much the property of them. So not even my godmother, my aunt, Tracy, she couldn't even get me out of CAS. I was there until I was 18.
You were 5 years old, you left home. What exactly happened? You still remember?
What I remember is mainly all the abuse. I don't remember many good times, honestly.
Do you still remember the details?
I was thrown around like a rag doll by my shirt. I was pushed and shoved up and down stairs. I was locked in bedrooms by my mom's exes at the time. Well, they were her boyfriends at the time, and then they became exes. And with that, it was too much trauma. So even if I had any good times, I wouldn't be able to remember. Like, there's a detail that my mom told me that one Christmas or something like that, I ended up getting a bunch of Barbie dolls, and they were all the same. And my family was always about competition, and I was sick and tired of them, like, just arguing every year. It would be an argument on my birthday, Christmas, Easter, anything. So I just ended up getting fed up, and I guess I took a lighter to them and burnt the Barbies down, and it almost burnt my mom's house down at the time. My sister was in the next room, and the smoke damage was going to her. And she was just like an infant, I think, like at least 1 or 2 maximum. And I was about not too much older. Like, I was probably around, because I think, yeah, I'm 30 and she's like 25, I think now, 26. So yeah, like, it wasn't too much far apart, and I acted out. And I couldn't take my family fighting anymore, so I'd act out when they fought. And it would cause me to act out because I was trying to get attention from both sides of the family, but all they did was too busy arguing who's better. My grandmother would buy me new clothes, and my mom would dress me up in those clothes, and they would be dirty or stained. And it was like my grandmother would she couldn't take it anymore, and my grandmother wanted to take me. My godmother is my Aunt Tracy, which is my grandmother's daughter. She's nice. I'm the daughter that she never had. So she ended up having a son, but me and my cousin grew up. Like, I remember a few times good times with my cousin. We'd always go swimming together at any beach, from Wasaga to Barrie here to Toronto, Mississauga, stuff like that. We would go to the Woodbine Center as kids. Went to Wildwater Kingdom. Like, I wouldn't remember the exact details of what happened those days, but honestly, it was like they were a family. And apple picking. We always had our apple picking anniversary things every year. And stuff like that. Like, I remember having a couple good birthdays. But not very many, because it's all the hard times and all the trauma that I went through of the abuse and being an overthinker. It tends to block out a lot of things, and I would delete things out of my brain, and that also wasn't healthy because now I don't know what to learn from those issues that happened. So but with my relationships with my family, me and my dad, if anything, his 4 kids know him better than me. But that was because my dad was also fed up with my mom, and he was also a street kid too. He just wasn't as smart, I'd hate to say. He got caught for a lot of things, like stealing his mom's vehicle. I think my dad said he ended up sleeping in garbage bins. And it's like, how would you sleep in that? Like, I couldn't, unless it was cleaned right out. But, like, I found ways to sleep everywhere. And after those good times, everything started going more dark and downhill because of CAS. The more I was in CAS, the more they were abusing me.
Tell me about the details of the CAS. The first memory, you were there 5 years old?
I was 5 years old. I remember being with my foster mom, Grandma Beth. She was an older lady. There's one of the times where it's actually a really bad time. She was from the era of when you get a metal or a wooden spoon in the belt. So I got beat with that. I remember at least once or twice that I can recall. And there was one day I didn't want to wear the dress that she picked out. So she made me sit on the stairs, opened up the main door, like the outside door, and left me on the stairs naked. Like, literally butt naked at the age of like 5, 6 years old. That was one memory I have. I remember having a couple good Christmases. I got a little TY Stuffy. It was a skunk. His name was Stinky. I loved it. I carried that thing around everywhere. And it was from her, because she knew I liked skunks. And I still do, even though I've been sprayed by one. But, no, if anything, I remember another good Christmas where my grandmother came over. And I just remember everybody getting along. We had a great dinner. Everybody opened the presents. I got one of those little remote control skateboarding dolls. I forget what they were called, but it was a remote control, and it was like a doll that went on the remote control skateboard, and I was able to drive it around. I remember getting those little cars, except these days they're automatic for the kids, but before it was like the Flintstones. You had to use your feet to drive it around, but you could sit in the car. Mine was a Barbie one. I loved it as a kid because I was like a big Barbie fan, but I was also a tomboy. I liked the Hot Wheels and stuff like that, and the Bionicles and all that kind of stuff. But like, I don't remember a lot of good times, but I do remember some. But like I said, after the good times, it was like when everything went so good, it'd go downhill again. And it's like, like it's always, when something goes, it's like nowadays, I've had so much good happen, but then as soon as that good stops, it's like, oh, no more. Gotta have a shitty time, and gotta go through the darkness of life. And pretty much it helped me learn, though. I was able to learn that from my parents' mistakes. Don't have a kid at a young age, or just don't have a kid at all. If you know that you can't handle it, and honestly, I wouldn't be able to with the disorders that I have and the mental issues that I have, and the traumas. So, like, honestly, a crying baby sometimes will trigger certain things, because I remember hearing my sister cry all the time, and I was the only one home. I was babysitting my sister Storm at a very young age, because my mom was also a prostitute. She was into drugs, and yeah, so that's how she put food on the table and clothed us and everything else, but it was also for her own pleasures too. I don't know exactly what drugs she was into. I do know that she was a drinker when she was pregnant with me. I suffer from fetal alcohol syndrome. I was diagnosed with fetal alcohol syndrome, bipolar, and I have a detachment disorder and abandonment issues because of everybody that's abandoned me in my life from the age of 5 till now. And people come and go, and I learned about that.
My question is, how the abandonment issue affect your life?
Just from moving so much and having to see so many kids come in and out, because the kids don't stay there forever. Some of them get shipped early to another foster home or to another group home. So I'd get attached to someone, I'd end up having that relationship with them, and then poof, they're gone, And same with my family. I'd have a relationship with them, and then if something like about my life didn't compute to them or wasn't proper to them, they'd end up leaving me, So like,
right now you have a hard time to emotionally attach to anyone.
I still get attached, and honestly, it's fading pretty bad now. Like, it takes me at least a month or so to get attached to somebody. But once that month or two hits, like, I'm like a leech that you can't get off. Like, not even salt or anything, like, or fire could take me off like that. Or unless it's like a flamethrower and it was like hotter than Satan down there. But other than that, like, I get attached and I latch on to, like, not latch on, like, mooch off them, but I tend to not use them as a crutch either, but it's more of a support thing. So, like, the more people I feel that are actually genuine and real, they turn out to be like, oh, and then they disappear, and then I don't know where they are, and I don't have that relationship with them anymore. And when I do see them, it's like we're total strangers again. And it's like, I don't want to get attached to you because you're just going to leave, So that's why I have abandonment issues and attachment disorder, because...
What is the trauma you're talking about?
The trauma, so if somebody starts yelling, it doesn't even have to be at me in general, just yelling in general. It brings back when my mom and everybody would yell, and it would also bring back with past relationships too, where they'd start yelling and then they'd start throwing hands, and I would be a target always. Like, there is not once I was never a target to violence. I have probably a lot of fractured bones in my body. I'm only going to be 30 in like 2 days, July 6th. And honestly, I feel like I'm like 70 with my body because it cracks, it aches. If I shaved my head, I'd have a road map on my head and a bunch of hills, and so like, I'm not the smartest person in there. I'm not the sharpest tool in the toolbox, and I'm not the brightest light bulb in the pack. So, and that's not fully my fault. It's also the way that with my fetal alcohol syndrome, it doesn't always let me learn or comprehend certain things unless it's like super easy. Like if there's an easy way, I'll find it. I don't like the hard way because it's too complicated. But with the traumas, like yelling, if I see violence, also like just even certain words sometimes will trigger, because it's like, for an example, a lot of my family called me retard. And honestly, I kind of look at it as a morbid way, but I use my trauma and as a kind of like a crutch in a way, because I look at it and I kind of make jokes with my life, with the trauma. So for an example, it was a word vomit, but my grandmother said, "Oh, you're so stupid, you're effing retard." And I'm like, "Yeah, well, at least the government gives me money for it." And she just looked at me like, "That's a little morbid and dark." I'm like, "Well, I don't know, I just thought of it," and ever since then, I've kind of learned from that. Like, I have mommy issues because as far as I'm concerned, I never got the tit, but every other kid did. I have daddy issues because my dad, he went to the store, wasn't to go get milk, but he went to go get a pack of smokes and he never came back. Usually, so I look at stuff like that and people are like, "How do you make your life a joke?" I'm like, honestly, it's just the way that I cope. Everybody has a coping mechanism. I use dark humor, so.
Tell me, when you said you were on the street since 13.
Yes, I was on the street since I was 13. It was because I was getting fed up of how abusive CAS was. It was just getting worse. I remember I ended up catching charges. I had 2 assault with a weapon of mischief, because I was on the phone with my grandmother, just venting. And one night I was saying that I want to kill everybody. I want to bomb this place. I want to insinuate a riot, stuff like this, and just pretty much kill everyone in CAS and these staff first. And then pretty much kill myself after for them doing this to me and making me do this, because I'd honestly feel bad. But I ended up destroying the group home. I took buckets of water and I pretty much drowned the stairs and the whole top floor and main floor, and it leaked into the basement, so there's a lot of water damage. I ended up kicking down every door. There was my bedroom door, like 4 rooms, and then the staff room. So there's like 6 rooms. And I even booted down the downstairs room and started pouring water down there. Half the paperwork of people got wrecked, so they had to throw out a lot of that. And I ended up getting 2 assault with a weapon of mischief. Now the weapon was a phone, corded phones. Took that off the wall and I went like this and lassoed her, and it hit her in the head. And then the mischief was destroying the group home. So yeah, a phone was a weapon, but it makes sense because I can kind of make anything into a weapon. But yeah, we won't get into that detail. But like, I've done a lot of damage, and that's how I got my first set of charges. Now after a while, I was more of a thief. I would steal from stores, and then it escalated to people. Now, I'm pretty much exposing myself, and I tell people that I'm not like this anymore, but a lot of the older people, if they do see this, they will think, "Oh, that's still the old Kayla. She'll always be the old Kayla. Once a thief, always a thief. Once a liar, always a liar." Stuff like that. But I don't really care what they say. Honestly, the past isn't who you are today, it's what you make of yourself, but the past does help.
So what happened when you were 13 on the street?
I was literally by myself. I was a lone wolf.
Tell me the details.
When I first ran away to live on the streets forever, it was terrifying. I didn't know anybody. Honestly, I didn't know anybody, and I went right downtown. It was scary. But I still made it through. I ended up getting caught, and so I'm like, well, they're just gonna keep looking for me. So I ended up trying to commit suicide. I ended up going to the bath, and I took showers as a kid. So a bath was abnormal for me, and I ended up slitting my wrists. and that's almost how I died. But God and the devil honestly said, no, it's not your time. And I thank one of my foster sisters for that, Carissa. She helped me because she's the one that noticed, like, hey, Kayla never takes baths. She takes showers. So she remembered, and so she helped me. Then I'm just like, well, I can't die now. Like, I'm alive. Like, if I try it again, I'm probably not going to succeed again. And so I went back and I AWOL'd after literally being out of the hospital with still bandages on my wrists up to here. I went back on the streets. And it was terrifying again, but I started meeting a few people because a lot of people started realizing, like, what is this young little girl doing? Like, I looked younger than 13. I'm 90s kids. Some of us got the best set of genes, and we always have the little baby face. So, some of us don't, but some of us do, and I kind of have that because a lot of people say that I don't look 30. I'm just like, oh, well, thank you, like, I still get ID'd at the liquor store or when I go get smokes, stuff like that. I don't go to the liquor store often, but people will make me go. But other than that, no, but with,
Right now, how do you make a living?
I get ODSP. They pay me with street allowance. I get around $600. It's not enough to really live on the streets because you need a lot of things because things get damaged or stolen. For an example, I have to get a new bank card and ID because I have I got robbed on check day or I misplaced it, but I believe I was robbed. A lot of people were robbed for their stuff that day too, and from the same person that we all know who it is. And I won't say any names because I'm not a name dropper. And I don't plan on citing my death certificate or getting beat up today, or any day. So I'm not going to do any names. And plus I just want to let it go because it's nowhere to be found, and I'm just going to get a new one anyway.
Well, how do you make a living?
I live off of my ODSP, or now that there's a trading game, I'll go and find stuff. And so does everybody else. We go and we look for stuff like in dumpsters and stuff like that. Or, like, for example, I have a working phone. It's not on me, but I have a working phone. So people will pay me to use my phone because nobody has a working phone. And that's how they can make their hustle. So if they, say, have a speaker or a bunch of headphones or whatever they got, to trade for their medicine and their poison or for their living. I just try to keep to myself, but it is hard once you're homeless. Everybody kind of knows you, and I stick out like a sore thumb. I don't know anybody that wears cat ears and has a rat. So if anybody starts wearing cat ears and starts carrying around a rat, I know I started that trend. And they're all trying to be posers. Ask me first. I TM'd that style. Okay, so that's I TM'd that. So.
Do you do any drugs right now?
Yes, I smoke a lot of weed, and I also smoke crystal meth. I started last year around August, September. It was actually during a breakup with my most recent boyfriend. We ended up having a breakup due to his traumas and due to my traumas. Didn't work out and a bunch of other crap. And we ended up having a breakup, and then later on we got together, and he's like, do you want to get high? And I'm like, sure, but I don't have my weed and my bong. I thought that's what he meant. I didn't know that he did. Like, I knew that he had the active addiction before, because he told me way before, but he said that he was clean. And he pulls out a crystal meth pipe, a bowl pipe, and he starts lighting it, and I'm like, okay. So me being a good girlfriend, thinking that I'm being a good girlfriend, I'm not going to take the pipe and break it. I'm not going to tell him, oh, I'm breaking up, or we're done. So I wanted him back. So I smoked it with him. I was willing. He offered it, and I was willing to take it. It's not like he forced it to my mouth, and I had to puff on it. No, I was willing to take it. He's like, do you want some? You don't have to. And I took it, and I did it. And I watched him smoke it, so I knew how to do it, too. I'm a visual learner.
That's your first time?
Yes, this was my first time ever doing it. Once in a while, like once in a blue moon. I haven't done it since my last birthday. But I will snort coke once in a while. I prefer that than anything. But I prefer my weed. But I can detox myself. I was clean in December when I got a place, December of last year, in 2022. I ended up getting a place with a couple of my friends, my best friend and her boyfriend, and I stayed with them, and they just smoke weed. They don't do anything else. So they encouraged me to get off of it, and I was off of it for at least 2-3 months, just smoking weed.
Let me ask you a question. You been on street since 13, but
Yeah.
you never touched heavy drugs. How you control yourself like that?
Honestly,
It's very rare.
I watched everybody else. I watched all my friends die. All my street family have died, pretty much. Like, I don't know many people from when I was 13.
But you just know, keep yourself out of this.
Yes, I will. Honestly, crystal meth is as far as I'll go. I won't do heroin. I won't do. I've done a little bit of mushrooms like 2-3 times. Eh, it was alright. I've done coke in the past. I was addicted. The only drug that I was actually kind of addicted to, which people say that's weird that I was addicted to it, but ecstasy. When I was like 16, I was doing like ecstasy for like 2-3 years almost. But that was the hardest drug that I ever did back then. And then once I got a little bit older, around my 20s, I ended up doing my first rail of coke. And that was alright. I don't remember it too much because I was drunk as all hell. Like that was when I was an alcoholic. But then I remember doing it again when I came into Barrie, on May 28th, 2022. I came back to Barrie after 12, 13 years of being away. I was up north. And I came back down here for a guy to date him. And we were doing good, and then traumas, and then ups and downs. And then he recently dumped me. Kind of left me ghosted there and left me in the dark. But I know now, honestly, from being an overthinker, I realized why he left me. And it's just because, honestly, he wants to get his life back together, he said. But we were both using at the time. Just before he left town, we were using. And that was on June 11th of this year, 2023. And, yeah, we were both using, and I stopped for a bit there. And then I indulged. And I've still indulged, but I've done it recreational. I was actually, for the first 2 weeks, actually, like a week after I was crying and everything, and I dealt with it sober, I ended up actually going back into the crystal. Like, I was going to get sober and be like, you know what, I'm going to change my life around now too, and da da da. But honestly, I haven't. I'm still on the streets. I'm looking for housing. I have 2 amazing friends that are actually helping me, doing their best. Anyway, they have a baby, so they can't really do too much. They would give me the room again, but the baby needs that, so I don't want to take that. And they know that I was in an active addiction. They still know that I am, but I've honestly, the first 2 times I said that I wasn't using it all, but that's when they told me that I had to be clean for at least 2 days. Like, I haven't been able to touch my niece, because their little girl's my niece, and I'm the aunt. I haven't been able to touch her because you can't touch certain things like animals and stuff, and stuff like that. Like, I sanitize my hands when I touch my rat. Every time. And I've forgotten a couple times, but he hasn't been messed up from my pores being affected by the crystal. But, like, he hasn't been messed up at all. Like, he's still kicking. But no, like, I try to smoke more weed, though. I try to always make sure that I have weed. So then, but the day that I do not get high off my marijuana is the day that I know that I'm too into the crystal. Because they say once you go to a higher level of high, you're always chasing for that high because you can never get that same high again unless it's from that one specific drug. But I would still get freaking stoned off weed.
Do you have any plan in the future?
I do want to get a place eventually. I've been looking, and if I can find a forever home without a shitty landlord or shitty neighbors that will just pretty much rat me out for anything, like if I smoke weed or say that I do still end up having addiction to crystal and I want a place. I know people who have a place and they're on drugs, you know, and I know someone who has a place and they're on heroin. And they're able to have a job and everything, you know, like it all depends on how your mind span is. You don't let the drug take over you. And if you do, that's when you start seeing people doing the nod and they're always like, you know, like, and stuff like that. Like me, I know my limit of staying up because the crystal is a stimulator for most people. So it keeps you up. I can stay up for like 4 days, but that fourth night, I have to fucking sleep or I'll start hearing and seeing shit. It's the psychosis. Also, when I deal with the come downs, the mental. So, like, say, for an example, it's a hot day and something stupid happens, like I fall. I'm going to make the biggest freaking deal out of it. Just because I'm so much extra emotional. I'm dealing with a come down and it's just hitting me way harder than anything else in the world. And then I just have a mental breakdown and I can't do that. So when I feel like I'm coming down and I'm starting to feel tired, I need to sleep. So if I have weed, I'll start smoking a bunch of weed and I'll pass out. And then it's the physical calm down. It's the pain that really, really is the hardest for me. And that's when I'm like, oh, I want to fucking quit. And I'm just like so sore and I can't move really. Like I was kind of bedridden this morning and a little bit last night from walking too much and the heat and everything else. And just, I didn't have any crystals, so I was having a bit of a come down. But I didn't have any mental ones because I was too on high alert because at nighttime, I usually stay up at nighttime. So that I usually sleep during the day.
Everybody stay up all night. Why?
Yeah, because that's when people are the most vulnerable. It's dark. People want to sleep. People are too tweaked out on their drugs. Good or bad, but honestly, a lot of people should, if they're tweaking out bad and starting to rob people for, like, my own community, my own homeless people are robbing each other and, like, hurting each other, and, like, you can't trust anyone. Like, with me, I can't even trust my own family. My grandmother was trustee, and she was robbing me. I swear she was. I ended up seeing a bunch of receipts. And, you know, like, I don't care if this gets to her. But honestly, I was disgusted with her, and I had to go to ODSP here in Barrie and threaten my own life to get my check back. I had to tell my worker, Win Hansinger, I'm going to write a suicide note right now, and I'm going to put my grandmother's name and his name, and yeah, I'm going to slit my throat. And he's like, go talk to mental health at CMHA. Talked to them once, got my check back. I got my grandmother off, and after that, I didn't really talk to her. And yeah, like it was disgusting, and I ended up being my own person. I cut all ties with people. I talk to my family once in a blue moon, like, but I try and just ask how they're doing. That's it. And then I gotta like go because it's like I can't get into it with them. Like if they watch this, they'll know that I have an active addiction. Like only my street friends and my street family know that I have an addiction. My family, I've never told them. They suspect that I'm on drugs, but I was such a good liar. And if, like I said, I'm exposing myself, but I'd rather say it in a video or through a phone, if anything, but even a phone would be too much. Like, I'd just have to tell them and have it on audio and then hang up right after. I couldn't deal with them giving me the backlash, and I've already lost my family pretty much anyway, so but that little bit of connection, I am afraid of losing that little bit. Because I can't deal with being alone, but I love being alone, which it's messed up. Well, I've been so fucked over by people, so I want to be alone when I get fucked over, but when I'm in emotional states, I need to be surrounded by people. So it's, you know, it's messed up. Like, good cannot come without bad, and bad cannot come without good. So life has always been a yin-yang, and with this life, it is hard. It's always going to be hard. But honestly, I would not wish homelessness on anyone. It's pretty much almost dying. A lot of people might say it, but me, I feel like every day I'm dying inside. Because I'm just living day by day. I don't know when I could walk out of your trailer and there could be a shoot up, you know? Like, I don't know when my time is up. So, a famous quote that I go by, that a famous rapper said before he died in one of his songs, he ended up saying, you gotta get around, life is like a game, you gotta get around the board as many times as possible until someone or something takes you out.